What's going on, people? Welcome back to the channel. I am Jay London and this is FPL of the day, and in this video we are doing something very special. This is to date gonna be my favorite video yet because I'm getting involved some of my favorite YouTubers. Yes, it is the FPL secrets from some of the biggest experts in the game. I'm gonna be calling, let's say 5 or maybe 6 people, 5 or 6 of my favorite YouTubers. I'm going to get them right here in the video to give you their #1 secret FPL tip. Yeah, to make sure that you guys can smash it going in for the start of the season. All right, before we begin, before we jump in, please do hit that subscribe button, especially if you're seeing my face for the very first time. And yeah, I'm way too excited to keep you waiting any longer. Let's dive straight in. The biggest FPL secrets from some of the FPL experts. Let's go. So let's do it. I've got a phone here, I've got a phone there, and I'm going to call 6 of my favorite YouTubers to get their biggest secret. Let's just start it off. I'm way too excited for this. Let's begin and see who the first person is on the FPL of the day hotline. Come on. Connecting.
What is up, everyone? What is up, Jay? Thank you for having me on. FPL Harry here to give you my tip for the upcoming season. My tip, maybe a boring one, is don't think that you need to go too out of the ordinary, too off-piste with your selections during the season, particularly at the start of the season. If you lose ground early on, it is much more difficult to make that ground up than it is later on in the season. So don't think that you need to go big differential early on in order to try and get to that sort of top 10k for game week 1. It is a 38 game week season. Something I do is I trust myself to get 25 or 30 of my 38 transfers a season right. And what this means is basically I don't need to go taking big hits. I don't need to be taking wild differential punts that no one owns and doesn't really have any chance of returning. Of course, the odd differential is great. You know, last season, picking on someone like Cristiano Ronaldo, who was low owned. Pick a player that we know has explosive potential. We know is a top quality player in real life and in FPL for a short-term punt is fine, but don't go off-piste just for the sake of it. I see people thinking, I've got A versus B, I'm going to go B just because they're lower owned. This is absolutely not a good way to play the game, in my opinion. This often comes hand in hand with people taking a lot of hits as well. If you are taking a hit, that player automatically has to score a goal in that game week to make up your hit. The amount of times that happens is pretty minimal. So try and reduce your hits to a minimum. Plan ahead so you know what's going to come, you know what's coming up. It might sound boring, but it has proved right for me over the past couple of seasons, getting me to the top ranks that I have had over those years. So good luck in your preseason planning. Thank you for having me on, Jay, and I'm sure I'll speak to you all very soon.
What a start. Big thank you to FPL Harry with those tips, and the ones that I really did mention in my how to get more FPL points this season. If you haven't seen this video yet, go and check it out straight after this one. But what a start. This guy has been having some ridiculous scores and ridiculous ranks as well throughout the last few years. So big thank you to FPL Harry for coming on the channel. Make sure you go and check him out when you get a chance. And as I say, this is just going to be the most fun video. Let's see who else is on the FPL of the day hotline and give him a call. Who's there?
Hi Jay, FPL Phillips, Eddie here. Thank you for having me on the channel. And my top tip for the 22-23 season is going to be to target at least one £8 million midfielder. We've got so many good assets around that price. Luis Diaz seems the most popular, but there's Bukayo Saka, Mason Mount, James Maddison, Foden, Mahrez at Man City, even Kulusevski at Spurs will be nailed on. Now Richarlison has of course got that one match ban at the start of the season, and so really what we want to have is at least one of them in there so that we're making the switch across to whichever player out of those bunch hits the ground running the fastest at the start of the season a lot easier to do. And so that's going to be my plan for the start of the season, having at least one of them, maybe even 2 of them in my team. And so perhaps try and make sure you've got that mid-price midfielder in there rather than going with 2 premiums such as Salah and Son and then 2 really cheap players such as Neto, who's been popular, and players around that price, as it just makes making transfers at the start of the season a lot more easy without having to take hits. And it does look likely that, as I mentioned, one of those £8 million midfielders at least is going to have a great start to the season. So that's my top tip. Hope it helps you out, guys, and thank you once again to Jay. See you soon. Goodbye.
Oh, I'm loving this. Big thank you to FPL Phillips, aka Eddie, for that massive tip. Yeah, loads of people are talking about Mahrez, they're talking about Saka. I've gone with Diaz in my first draft as well. So yeah, it's going to be the battle of the 8 million priced midfielders. So yeah, I really do like that one. Make sure you take that on board and you go and check out FPL Phillips. Where do you get a chance? This is really fun. I'm gonna give two of my favourite boys a little call right now. Let's give him a little shout and see if we can get him on the line.
Hey Jay, Nick here from FPL Juice. Hope you're good. My top secret tip for FPL, it's not really a secret, but it's take hits. Take hits, it's fine. People will have you believe that if you take hits, you're going to go nowhere in FPL, but I'm telling you, get in there early. Don't be afraid. And also, make transfers early. That's my other thing. The amount of times I've transferred a player in and gained value and they've not got injured is ridiculous. Everyone will have you believing that as soon as you transfer a player in on a Monday night or a Tuesday night, they're going to get injured in training. It's so rare that it happens that way. Even an international break, go for it, because that extra 0.1 or 0.2 later on in the season will pay dividends. So, they're my top tips. Take the hits, play fun, enjoy the game, and
don't listen to Nick from FPL Juice. He's never had a top 10k finish. Shout out my boy Jay London, FPL of the day. Listen, my biggest tip for FPL players is to follow your heart, follow your gut. There's so much information out there these days in the FPL community, on websites, on apps. There's so much out there, and it can really confuse you at times and make you second guess yourself. But all I can say is follow what you want to do, follow your heart, follow your gut instinct, and just make your moves that way. So there's 2 for 1 for you guys. Follow your heart, don't listen to Nick. Safe.
The FPL Juice boys, ladies and gentlemen. I really love these guys. So Nick went in with 2 tips that were in my biggest mistakes to avoid, things not to do for the season. Again, if you haven't seen that video, go and check that out after you've watched this one. Making transfers early and taking hits. All right, if it works for you, then it works for you. But yeah, that's absolutely hilarious that Ash has actually had to come in there, cut him off and give it a nice tip as well. Don't listen to Nick and follow your heart. Take it as you wish, people. Take it as you wish. But yeah, big shout out to the FPL Juice boys for coming onto the channel. Make sure you're checking them out. They do an amazing podcast on YouTube, and you can find them every single week. Just doing a complete madness. I'm going to be joining them for a few episodes as well again this season, so make sure you go and check them out. Right, let's go and get the next person on. Let's see who's on the FPL of the day line.
So guys, FPL Raptor here. I'm going to give you my top piece of advice for either new managers, veteran managers. It doesn't matter who you are. I think it's always brilliant to hear this piece of advice. And it's to be the most adaptive and flexible manager you possibly can. Now, that might sound quite generic, but there are some things to unravel with this. What I essentially mean is you need to try not to lock yourself into certain players or lock yourself into certain plans too far ahead of time. Yes, in FPL, it's absolutely critical that you have a very well thought out plan and that you plan maybe 4 to 6 game weeks in advance. But this plan should be fairly loose, and you should always be willing to update that plan as you get new information and different things happen, because FPL is a constantly changing game. It's very, very unpredictable. It's very dynamic. And if you don't constantly change in response to FPL changing, unfortunately, you'll start to fall behind and you'll get stuck in your ways and you'll feel quite stubborn as a manager. And we're actually engaging 2 very well-known psychological biases here. It's plan continuation bias and the Semmelweis reflex. So basically, just try not to be so stubborn. Try to be as open-minded as possible. Yes, create a plan. You can say, I think I want Salah in my team. I think I like Cancelo. I think I like to wildcard in game week 8. But try not to say Salah's locked in. I'm definitely doing this, because what you start to do, lock yourself into a plan and then you don't update with the new information we get. So that's my number 1 piece of advice. Obviously, let us know down in the comments what you think your number 1 piece of advice is. We're always interested to hear what you say.
Hey, yes, please do let us know what you're thinking in the comments. And a massive shout out to one of the biggest YouTubers in the game, man, FPL Raptor, Ross, coming on the channel and giving us a massive tip there. And I agree with that 100%. You can get really caught up and really just focused and really just stubborn on the players or the plans that you have going forward into the game week. And then likewise, you can overthink things after you've actually made a decision, and then overthink it and then get influenced, and then it could go the complete opposite way as well. well. So just, yeah, don't be too stubborn. Be open to changes. Be open to things changing all the time. But don't get too easily influenced as well, I would say, if you do have something locked in and it's something that's in your gut and you're certain that this is going to be a player that actually does really, really well, then stick with that. That's what I would say as well. So yeah, big shout out to FPL Raptor. He has been smashing the content on YouTube for the preseason. So make sure you head over to his channel and go and check that out if you haven't already. I mean, you're watching this, so you probably already subscribed to him anyway. So yeah, shout out to you, Ross. And let's get in to one more. I'm going to leave it with one of my favorite people, one of my bros, one of my amigos, all the way from Pakistan. Let's give FPL Zay a call and see what his secret is going to be.
Hello everyone, this is me, FPL Zay, and I would like to thank FPL of the Day for giving me this opportunity. My first advice would be to avoid the Twitter bandwagon and go for the players suited best for your team using the eye test or the stats rather than going for what's popular. My second advice would be to hold on to your transfers for as long as possible to avoid the deadline day injuries. See you all soon. Thank you.
So there we go. He's said two things there. Big shout out to FPL Zay for coming on the channel. He's gone against what FPL Juice Nick said, yeah, and said to hold on to your transfers, which I probably agree with. Try and make those as late as possible just to avoid any injuries and stuff like that, but not too late because sometimes the site does crash. To pick players that you really like and not to jump on the bandwagon, but sometimes you are going to have to pay attention to the players that are becoming really highly owned and going up in price because there might be good reason for it. So there we go. There we have it. Those are some of the biggest secrets from some of my favorite YouTubers in the game. Let me know what you're saying down in the comments below. Who do you agree with? Who do you disagree with? Are there any tips that you would like to add to those? Are there any secrets that you have discovered from last season that you really feel is going to be vital going into 2022, 2023? Before I go, I just want to give a massive shout out to everybody that jumped on the call. Big shout out to FPL Harry, to FPL Phillips, to FPL Raptor, to the FPL Juice boys, to FPL Zay, and to everybody watching, to you guys that have made this video possible. Yeah, man, I'm really enjoying this one. This is definitely my favorite video yet. If you agree, please do hit that subscribe button, leave a little like, and I will see you on the next one. I feel like we need to do another one of these because, yeah, this was great fun. I'll see you next time, all right? See you then.